CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 4, Part 23, Audio by Renee Matthew. So after the Hiroshima and Nagasaki incident, everybody joined together, especially Japan was defeated by the Allies. Japan was demilitarized and a new constitution was formed as a result of all these incidents. And what was the excuse given by Japan? It is like they said, it is only to shorten the war that we had to detonate these bombs and drop it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This had Article 9. Article 9 is no war clause. After Japan was demilitarized and after a new constitution was introduced, there was a no war clause which was laid, and it renounced the use of war as an instrument of state policy. It became a state policy to not use these weapons of war, and that is why it was known as the no war clause. Agrarian reforms means the reforms which was taking place as a part of agriculture, which took place in the rural background. It is not completely rural, but people who were engaged in agriculture. There was re-establishment of trade because they lost touch with trade, so that was re-established. Agrarian reforms means agricultural reforms, agrarian. So trade unions came up. It's not just trade, but trade unions also came up where they'll be able to voice their opinion. Earlier we saw that the government had a regulation or monitoring on how the people met, how the people occupied and conducted meetings to stand against the government, voicing their opinion. Everything was curved. We saw that in the earlier videos. So now there was a re-establishment of trade unions, and there was also an attempt to dismantle the zaibatsu or large monopoly houses. Okay, zaibatsu or these large monopoly houses dominated the Japanese economy because they were very rich families. I told you that there were a few families who were rich, who were of rich lineage, and nothing could be done to disempower them. So this particular family, Zaibatsu, it was like a very large monopoly house which dominated the Japanese economy, and also this particular house or this particular family was no longer allowed to dominate the Japanese economy. So when they naturally dominate, what happens? They will have an authority over the government also. It is something which happens in every country, in every nation. So political parties were revived. We saw the meetings that they conducted, the revolts that they had, the appraisals they had, everything was kept at check by the government. We saw that. So now trade unions came back, even political parties were revived, and the first post-war elections was held in 1946. The first post-war elections, and for the first time, women also had the right to vote. So major changes took place, and these changes are very important. It can come in the form of long answers or even short answers. If you refer a bit more on these things from the internet as a 11th standard student, it will help you to write more and also impress the examiners. More than that, it will give you knowledge also. Okay, so agrarian reforms, establishment of trade, little bit more on the Zaibatsu family. If you can write, it will be very good. Then political parties were revived. Then elections were also conducted in 1946, where women was given for the first time, women was allowed to vote. They had the right to vote. So this led to the rapid rebuilding of the Japanese economy. So always there will be a fall for major economies. So now it is like Japan did not stay there fallen. Everybody will have a fall. But the most important challenge is to rise from the fall. So Japanese economy was very particular about rebuilding this particular economy after its shattering defeat, and that was called the post-war miracle. So after the defeat, it just came up. It was known as the post-war miracle, but it was more than that, because it was firmly rooted in its long history. I told you that Japanese schools and everybody, they gave a lot of importance to their history. It was only before the war, before the Hiroshima and Nagasaki detonation, or before that war, they had that air of pride where they said we want to remain Western, and little bit of fluctuation was seen in their education and also in all their principles. But it is more than everything that we can see. It was firmly rooted in its history, which is a very important point. So I have put here a few points. The constitution was democratized only now. Earlier it was not following the principle of democracy. Now only it was democratized. But the Japanese had a historic tradition of popular struggles. Of course, they were struggling for a very long time. And intellectual engagement was also there. After democracy, what happened? Historical tradition of popular struggle was there, which helped them. It was a kind of, you can say, motivation for them to prolong and go further. Okay, and also lot of intellectuals were encouraged in Japan. Intellectual engagement was there on how to broaden political participation, how you can broaden the horizons of political participation without having the conservative kind of skill. Broaden all these participation so that you can think on a very broad perspective instead of just limitizing, instead of just confining yourself. So intellectual engagement was there. Popular struggle was also a motivation. It helped them to broaden the political participation. The social cohesion of the pre-war years was strengthened. The social domain of the pre-war years was strengthened. It allowed the close working of the people with the government, bureaucracy and industry. Till then nobody knew what was happening in the government or the bureaucracy or the industry. So now it is like they knew what is happening in all these places, and there was a kind of importance given to the social domain of what happened in the pre-war years, which enabled the normal people also to work with the government, bureaucracy and industry. Please remember that all these terms are very important for you to write your answers or even express your answer as a history student. So when you have chosen your stream as history, everybody will expect you to know the meaning, the deep meanings. Like if you ask a 4th standard child also, the child will say the meaning of government or bureaucracy, but you have to know it in depth. That is what is expected from you. So US support as well as the demand created by the Korean and the Vietnamese wars helped the Japanese economy. So US support was definitely there after that, and Korean and Vietnamese war also helped them to rebuild their economy because they emerged victorious, and this also gave them a lot of money to rebuild their economy. You know what is this particular picture? The bullet train, very famous. Okay, so we will talk more about it. The 1964 Olympics was held in Tokyo. You know that Tokyo got its name from Edo. Edo was the capital of Japan. It marked a symbolic coming of age. Why? The Olympics in 1964. That was because of the network of high-speed Shinkansen, or the bullet trains, which was started in 1964. It ran at 200 miles per hour. Now it is 300 miles per hour. Can you imagine in 1964 such a fast established network, and that it was the highest attraction during the Olympics, and Olympics was held in Tokyo. So at that time itself they were successful in setting up this network of high-speed bullet trains in 64 itself. So that time itself the speed was 200 miles per hour, and now it has become 300 miles per hour. It has come to represent the ability of the Japanese to use advanced technology. So from then you must have heard people say that Japan has got a very high-techy mind. They are savvy, they're techy and savvy. Okay, so the ability of the Japanese was already proved from those days itself to be advanced in technological development. And with all these advancement, one most important point is they produced better and cheaper goods when compared to other places in the world. Though this is like something which is very fast and something which is novel and new to the world, they produced better and cheaper goods with advanced technology. So it is like fast, but it is of less expense, and it is giving the best quality. So that is the greatest challenge to compete with such kind of companies or such kind of nations. I have put more picture of the network of high speed Shinkansen. If you're interested in looking at the model, taking a closer look at how it is shaped, it is almost shaped like a bullet. Okay, that is why it is having that high speed. And don't think that inside you cannot contain so many people. It looks very cramped, but inside there's a lot of space. It's too good, and it's really fast. So that is a picture of the high speed network. Okay, now it can run up to 300 miles per hour. The 1960s saw the growth of civil society movements because they gave a lot of importance to private parties, and they gave a lot of importance to political meetings, so people started sharing a lot of ideas. So civil society movements also emerged as industrialization had been pushed with utter disregard to its effect on health and environment. So people were against this industrialization because smoke was coming, it was polluting the rivers, it was not giving any welfare to the health and environment of the people. People were suffering because of all these things, and it had a very big impact, very adverse effect on health and environment. So it was the duty of the people to just disregard or discourage industrialization. So that is why civil society movements emerged. Very important point. Though the point looks very short, it has got a lot to say. Industrialization itself was disregarded by the people because of all these reasons. Now, cadmium and mercury. Cadmium poisoning led to a painful disease. Okay, it was an early indicator. So we are looking at the impact of industrialization, which led to cadmium poisoning and mercury poisoning. It led to a very painful disease, showing them, it was foregrounding that if you're not going to listen to the health of the people, to the health of the country, of course advance is there in the technology, the country is progressing, everything is there, but if you're not going to pay attention to the health and welfare and environment of the society, then what will happen? There will be a lot of problems. The painful disease will be there. It was followed by mercury poisoning in Minamata in the 1960s, and problems were caused by air pollution in the early 1970s. So this was the impact. This is cadmium, this is mercury. Of course we use it to make a lot of things, but too much of it was really hazardous to health. Grassroots pressure groups began to demand the recognition of these problems. So these small groups, I told you about the civil society movements. So these small groups, they started pressurizing the government to recognize these problems. So it is not enough in telling, yeah, we know that something like this is going on, right? The government will also have to approve of it. As well as they asked for compensation for the victims, because many people were suffering in the factories, and not only in the factories, even passive sufferers were there, active sufferers and passive sufferers. So they asked for the recognition, and they also wanted a compensation for the victims. Government action and new legal regulations. So after that, the government was of course forced to take an action. So over the years we can see that in different countries, it is only because of continuous pressure that government will take some action. That really helped to improve conditions. So from the mid 1980s, there was a decline in interest in environmental issues as Japan enacted some of the strictest environmental controls in the world. So there was a kind of decline in the environmental issues because of their rigid and strict environmental control in the world. They did not give much attention after that. Okay, so decline was there after mid 1980s, but of course some steps were taken to improve the conditions of these kind of hazardous health problems. So today, Japan as a very developed country faces the challenge of using its political and technological capabilities. It uses its capabilities to maintain its position as a leading world power. So challenge is there to use its political and technological capabilities, which it did not stop with. It continued with the progress in the political and technological capability, and that is how it emerged as the leading world power. Now we have to take a look at China. Who is this person on the screen? One more person has come up. The modern history of China has given rise to many questions in the people. That is on how to regain sovereignty, end the humiliation of foreign occupation because they were already shattered with all the foreigners coming and settling and exploiting them, and bring about equality and development. So modern history of China was more concerned with these 3 points: sovereignty, stop humiliation from foreigners, and spread equality.